Hey everyone, Jim McLeod here. I wanted to take a couple minutes to walk through the cover and the creation process for the book, The Visual Marketer. Let's dive into Illustrator to see how the process went. As you can see from here, originally I wanted to go with more of a hand-drawn style for the book. I knew I wanted something high contrast, probably white on a dark background, but I wanted to try to be as organic as possible with the text. So I started playing around with this, showed it to a few people, it wasn't quite working the way that I had hoped. So then I went for a more traditional route. So once I started working in Adobe Illustrator, the way I tend to work is I start with just basic black and white. If the design works in black and white, it's going to work once color is added. So I started really simple, and then I just started throwing ideas against the wall to see what was going to work. Some work better than others, some don't work at all. You can kind of see where things are going and how I was trying to figure out where the priority should be. Is it on the word visual? Is it on marketing? Also, fun fact, the book's title was originally The Visual Marketing Advantage, but then as time went on, due to a suggestion by Richie Atwaru, somebody I've worked with for a long time, he suggested shortening the title to The Visual Marketer. And I talked with a few additional people whose opinions I trust and went with that change. So the bunch of different covers that you'll see here will be with the original title. Now I started to get into some color. One of the things I wanted to do was not only have high contrast, but to have some additional color mixed around in there. So you can see this one has a stroke around each letter with a gradient within the stroke. It's not something I see a lot of, but it was something that was intriguing that I wanted to explore further. Again, here you can see, real emphasis on the terms visual and marketing, gradients around the box, gradient with this kind of drop shadow effect, plus a glow that's not rendering properly there. But I wanted to see how this would look. And also I know having a box on a cover like this can be tricky when it comes to cropping and during the printing process. Trying some different colors. This one here is less of a rainbow, more of just kind of a green to blue with some glow around it also. Now I started to mix it up, try some different typefaces. None of these were really working for me. One of the tricky parts with this is the word marketing is kind of a long word. So I wanted to see how I could fill the space and make it eye-catching. This is another version that I went with. I wanted something really dynamic because when the title was The Visual Marketing Advantage, there are a lot of angles and lines within the V and the A and the M. So I wanted to see if I could play into that. And diamonds are always great shapes for grabbing attention. Here's another one, doesn't really work, but it shows how adding some additional color might help grab your eye, but it doesn't feel complete. Then I started to get into some thicker lettering, some bigger glow, some different effects that I had seen. This is kind of a nice effect, but the word marketing is so long that it gets lost because to use this effect, the type really needs to be larger. Trying to figure out how to deal with size, I went sideways. It doesn't quite work. This goes back to the splitting up marketing by 3 layers to really see how it goes. It's a little busier than I wanted, but there's still some strength in there. Then I went back to the diamond shape and played around with that some more, tried making the text different sizes, and I really started to get to a color scheme that I liked. And for a couple days, this is what the cover was supposed to look like. But one of the things that I found was it still wasn't filling the space the way that I wanted it to. It's still kind of a small area for the type. And since I couldn't find a typeface that worked, what I did was I started just creating my own typeface. If we go into outline views, you can see this is just rectangles and circles all the way through. And I wanted to create something that would stand out and really be eye-catching. and also a book about visual marketing, it would be great to have a custom typeface that nobody else could use or duplicate. So here's an early draft of it. I'm still using a regular typeface, Termina, which I like for parts of it. And then I started to expand it more. One of the reasons this doesn't work is I put a lot of round edges here and angled edges here with the V, so that doesn't work. Trying some different things. Change the V so it's more kind of a classic V. I was afraid that this was going to take up too much space, but it works pretty well. But the challenge is this is the only letter that's not just kind of straight up and down. So I need to make that work well. These look pretty similar. Here I started to add some additional pieces. You can see the M starts to have a squared edge, as well as the N. And to make it more custom, I added it to the R also. Because one of the problems I was running into is very round and then square and then round again. So by mixing and matching the square corners with the rounded corners, it flows much easier. Then I got into actual color. And so if you've seen the book, this is pretty close to where we ended up. With this one, the way that I created this was just there's a copied layer behind this that is a gradient. We can see the gradient here. So the whole text is a gradient. And then I threw a blur on the gradient. And then we can unhide that to see what it looks like. So then we started going through and playing with some more of this. One of the things I wanted was some sort of inner line in there also, just something else to kind of flesh it out. This one, I used a technique somewhat similar to an eyeball, kind of leaning into the visual aspect of it. Our friends at The Tilt came up with some book cover options also. All of them used the eye. Didn't really work and can look a little weird. So I tried a few different options with that and then didn't love it. Then I started playing more with the background colors. Okay, what if I just flip the colors? Had a white background with navy lettering, and then went more with this type of technique that I liked. Then I tried different colors. I like the red, but once you get into kind of the greens in the background with the glow, it doesn't work. Also the red gets lost in there. Knocking out the glow, does that work better? Maybe a little. But like a mustard, maybe a sky blue. These all kind of worked, but they weren't as dynamic as what I was looking at in these earlier stages. I sent around this book cover for review from some designers that I like, that I admire the work that they do. And Megan Barrett was actually the one that said this area here is grabbing all the attention because there's so much space knocked out. So that is when I started playing around further with this and trying to see, okay, how can I tighten up this space? What if I just change the E? And at this point, I was playing with a lot of different ways. You know, do I do a lowercase t that's kind of nestled in with the E? That obviously doesn't work. Do I drop the E down and the I down so they're kind of sitting under the T? You know, do I try to bring the eyeball back? Do I try to show what the actual composition of these letters are? None of these were really working the way that I wanted to. One of the things that I did was I just tried shortening the lines that come off of the E. That really didn't work either. I also shortened the T, and then it got really squished within this area. And one piece of advice that Alex Derigny gave me was that it can be kind of hard to read from a distance. So what I ended up doing was opening up the space around all the letters. So if you look here, that space in the middle of the S or in the middle of the A or the U is much smaller than it is here. Opening that up definitely helped space everything out and create a lot more air in there, and it's easier to read. And then I kept playing with there. Here I was trying where the gradient goes to see if that direction should change. And that didn't really make a huge difference. And so this was kind of where I left it with the visual marketing advantage as the title. Finally, we ended up with the visual marketer as the title. And from here, it made it much better to kind of, it opens up more space here. So it's not just between these two letters. So opening up this space was great advice. It solved it. It solved a big problem that I had with the visual balance. Added the gradient, made the gradient, the glow around it a little bit stronger so that it really kind of jumps off. And this is the dust jacket for the hardcover. These are the guides so that I kind of know where the safe area is. And so this is what the book cover looks like. Our friends at The Tilt took a swing at this cover, tried some different typefaces, and some of which came out of that exercise was the idea to capitalize my name, throw a similar gradient on it, and to add the gradient to the also. So now the visual marketer and my name all have the same levels of highlight and attention when you're seeing this book on the shelves. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you found that enlightening. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.